Alright, I felt about now is about a good time to do a little update video on the garden because things have kind of popped off a little bit. So, here, this is just dill. This is probably not going to survive very long. It's getting a little too hot. I'll probably bolt anytime soon, but otherwise it's looking pretty good. A little pitcher plant. A little black pearl plant. That's a decorative pepper, and he's just kind of chilling. I've had this guy for a few years, and that's some time that I haven't put in the ground yet, but we got tomatoes coming in. This is a San Marzano. You can see down here. Oh, guys, look at them. Look at them. 3. And I think there's more. There's more, like right here. Let's see where. Can't see it. Where are you at? There you are. Tomato there. So these guys are starting to produce, which is very exciting. I'm really looking forward to trying to sell these at market, as well as making sauces, hot sauces, and all kinds of things. Here's some onions. These potted peppers are doing incredibly well. Here is a Scotch bonnet. It is a beautiful looking Scotch bonnet. That's a, this one is chili de arbol. I'm gonna make some seasonings out of this. This is a shishito. This one here is another tomato plant. I don't think it started producing yet. It's starting to flower, so that's a good sign. And then this is, what is this? This is a cashmere. That's a spicy Indian pepper that's used in like chicken vindaloo and stuff. I think I talked about that one before. Oregano is going crazy. I'm going to be using this in seasonings. It's pretty critically important. I can't remember what that is. It's not important. Another tomato. Let's see. I'll start over here. Onions. We've had these onions here forever. They just kind of never die. I don't know if this tomato plant is producing or not, but otherwise it's a very healthy looking plant. As you can see, we did some trimming recently. Got rid of the lower leaves. You trim the lower leaves for a few reasons. One of them being you need airflow. You don't want them touching the ground because they can get disease. And the third reason is that when they're all on the bottom, they kind of shade each other and they don't really get as much sun as they could get. And so they're basically just, the point of a leaf is to absorb sunlight. And so if it's not getting sunlight, it's kind of pointless. It's just absorbing energy from the plant. They could be doing something else. This is a ghost pepper. It's actually 2 ghost peppers. They came like this. These were starts we had to buy because my seeded ghost peppers didn't do amazing. But these guys are thriving. This guy's starting to bud. It's a little beat up. This squash plant here is kind of taking control over here. We've kind of trained it. You can take these vines and you can kind of pull them in a different direction. So we've been training to go this way. But you can see they're kind of, if you're not careful, they kind of just overtake everything. See this here. And they get little grippy tendrils here. Kind of push them, kind of push it that way, and so it'll sort of grow off that way. So there's that. All of these basil, we've actually trimmed several times. Basil is a plant that you trim it down and it grows back 3 times bigger. So you want to keep trimming them down. They're all looking extremely lush, which is great. And these are blueberry plants, I believe. And that's a volunteer tomato. We didn't plant that one, it just showed up. More. And then we got Thai basil here. We got some ideas for seasonings we want to try. Basil, 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 basil. Another berry, another basil. More basil. That's a tater. And that's basil. And this guy here is, this guy, trying not to dox myself. This is a mustard plant that just kind of showed up. And I've eaten some of the leaves and it tastes really good. But at this point, it's going to seed. You can see all these tendrils here. It's producing these little seed pods. And I need to do some Googling on how to extract the seeds. But I think it's pretty straightforward. I think you probably just dry them. And then there's a way to separate them. But I'll have to do some research on that. But here's a big tater crop. Potatoes, 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 potatoes. If you've never seen what a potato plant looks like, these are it. And you can kind of see some of them look kind of lush green over there. That means they're young. They're starting to turn yellow, and that's a good thing because when they start to flower, the potato will start to, that basically means that the potato is sending nutrients down to the potatoes in the ground, and they start producing starch, and the potatoes start growing. The plant itself, after that happens, will start to die back, and it's going to look dead, and that's the point where we dig them up, probably in about a month or so. And I'll probably record that because this is probably going to be 100 to 200 pounds of potatoes, maybe, if we're lucky. These are little marigolds that keep the bugs away. Another tomato. These are all healthy looking tomatoes. I don't know if this one has, oh, this one does. It's got a couple tomatoes on it. Look at them. Look at those little bad boys. Look at them little failures. All right. Another tomato. They're all looking really good, kind of trimmed down. I don't know if these have any tomatoes growing on them, but they're definitely flowering. They're good and healthy, good and fertilized. We out here doing it, man. Oh, there's a big old fat tomato right there. Hello, there he is. So that's pretty exciting. We're growing mostly San Marzanos, Romas, and some other variety I forget the name of. Standard tomatoes. And then down here we just got squash and zucchini. So if you ever grow squash or zucchini or gourds, they're very easy to grow, but they will overtake everything. So they grow very low. So we have all these tomatoes that grow very tall. So they'll just kind of grow tall around it, and it won't be a problem. Let's see, that's parsley, I think. And these are a bunch of zucchinis. These zucchinis tend to grow more like a bush. They grow like that. Oh, it's tripped. Gotta look around here. Oregano again. There we go. We do have some zucchinis coming in. There it is. There's one, and there's a bunch of flowers. And these plants are also, because they have huge flowers, they're insanely good pollinators, or they attract pollinators. I don't think this one really has anything on it yet. This one's got some squash. Little guy right there. They'll blow up pretty decent size. These guys are still pretty small. Smooth. And that is an onion that we're just letting go to seed for some reason. And then over here, more volunteer. That's another tater. More volunteer tomatoes. We'll probably pull those, and then just a few extra onions, because why not? You can put them anywhere, so it doesn't really matter. All right, on to the peppers. These I'm so excited about. This is a Carolina Reaper here. Look at that. That is a beautiful, healthy plant. I'm so excited. So Carolina Reapers, they're in the super hot variety, which, if you don't know much about peppers, a super hot pepper is defined as, so a ghost pepper is the mildest super hot. It has a Scoville rating of 1 million, and that is the mildest of the super hots. They go up to about 3 million. The super hots, you pretty much take care of them the same way you would any other pepper. The biggest difference is that they take way longer to grow. And I probably should have seeded these back in like December, but that's okay. They're doing great. But these banana peppers over here, these are bananas. Look at them. What a beaut. Look at them. I got 10 of them, and they're just all hanging out. And this one's got some big fat flowers on it. That means it's going to start producing peppers very soon. And one of these does have a pepper on it somewhere. This one, it is not. It does not have one. Well, this one has a pepper. There it is. Not paying attention. Right there, little guy right there. Oh, here's a big fat one over here. Yeah, there he is. Look at him. What a beaut. Getting big. All these plants are just absolutely phenomenal. And right next to these peppers, these are ají charpitas. This is a Peruvian variety. They grow in little, they get peppers about that big. Little marble-sized peppers, apparently very spicy. I've never successfully grown them. This is the best they have ever looked, ever since I tried to grow them. And I'm very excited. I have 4 of them. And then this monstrosity here, this is an elderberry plant. So you can see it's a big boy. So these are flowers. These are all going to become berries, and once they become berries, they're going to start to look like this. And these are little guys right now. They haven't started to ripen yet, but we are waiting. We are eagerly waiting. I'm going to make some elderberry syrup, among other things. Huge plant, very tropical looking. Really cool though. Yeah, look at that guy up there, all the way up there. I'm sitting there having to look up. Here's another elderberry plant. Big old plume of flowers right there. Look at them go. This is a blackberry. We haven't netted to keep the birds and squirrels out of it, but it's got some ripe ones in there, you can see. Kind of, yeah, right there. Kind of thorny. This one's kind of thorny, but that's okay. We got a rogue kale. These pop up everywhere. We just let them go because we eat them, so. Love kale. There's another blackberry plant. All the way down here. Got a bunch of berries on it. They aren't quite ripening yet. All right. This plot, and then in the back corner there's a little spot over here that I think maybe we didn't use it for anything, but I'm thinking about making it a spot for fall crops because it's shaded. Should be a nice and cool spot for them. Got yet more taters. So we grew them here we majorly grew them here last year, and when you grow potatoes, they tend to pop up again and again every year. They're extremely resilient plants, and they're a staple crop for a reason. They're stupidly easy to grow, and they grow a shitload of food. Mad Hatter. This is just a pepper I was curious about. It has kind of a, if you look at the pepper, it looks like a little hat, hence the name. More of these. This guy's looking real good. Does he have anything? I don't see any flowers or anything yet. Oh, I see a bud. Little bud there. This guy got decapitated into a stub, and he's bounced back from basically nothing. So sometimes if your plant gets really damaged, just let it go. These little guys will they'll survive. This is a poblano plant. I'm gonna make these into anchos. We're gonna make stuffed poblanos, of course, but there's a little weed here. This guy's I think it's a tree. There's trees near here that these pop up everywhere. Some of these little dead leaves down here can kind of help it out. Pull them off. They don't really do anything. Get rid of them. Poblano. More poblanos. Ooh. This is what a pepper is. What it looks like. And my camera just decided to cut out, but anyway, here we are. Back again. Jalapenos. Potatoes. And that's this plot. All these guys pull weeds as I go, I guess. Okay. Oh, these. I forgot about these guys. I always forget about these guys. These are more chili de arbol. Here. 3 of those. Those are used in a lot of Mexican cooking. Especially like moles and adobos, which I'm extremely obsessed with. More basil. Even more basil. Yet more. And these guys are another set of super huts called 7-pot Katies. There's 6 of them. That's just some cardboard. Doing beautiful. Look at them. Look at them go. They're about the same size as the Reapers. That's to be expected. They're a super hot variety. They grow slow. That's okay. They're actually doing better than some of the regular ones, surprisingly enough. These little guys out here. I'll show you the peppers. These guys over here. These are actually shishitos. I labeled them Kashmiri, but these are actually shishitos. This guy got eaten by something. I had 2 more over here. This guy here. Something got to it, but it's growing back. It's getting there. This guy's doing really well. It's a really good one. And then over here we have a kale patch. Sometimes we just throw out kale, just get a big fat patch and take stuff to the market. These are, let's see, what are these? Paprikas. These are, I'm excited about these. They're Lloyd shower paprikas, actual Hungarian paprikas, not like the regular quote-unquote paprika that you get at the store in America, which is basically just any red colored pepper that's powdered. There's actually Hungarian varieties that are true paprikas, and I'm really excited about that. To find out what it tastes like. This is celery and sage. This thing is going crazy. We make this sage into a rosemary seasoning, a rosemary sage black pepper seasoning that we sell that does pretty well. Let's see, these are all California Wonders, which is a variety of bell pepper. Not too exciting, but your standard bell pepper. Really good for stir frying. One over there. One there, kind of all here, and then these guys are hanging on. This is another Peruvian variety called Ají Cristal. It's like the Charpitas, but the Cristal, it grows into a pepper that looks almost exactly like a banana pepper, similar texture and everything, but it's extremely spicy. I love them. And this is another Scotch bonnet, and he's kind of got a little Swiss cheese there. That's okay, happens. He will press on. These are bell peppers, and this is a ghost pepper that is absolutely thriving, and I'm excited. I'm really excited. Got a bunch of buds on it, no fruit yet. Might be a little bit, probably not hot enough, and that's okay. All right, so before I move on, I'm gonna go back, walk back to where I was and show you guys these tomatoes. Here we are, tomatoes. So what we did is that Mima planted all these tomatoes back here and has been taking care of them, and then I drove these stakes here. It's basically a T-post, and drove it into the ground, set a bunch of T-posts down there in a row, and what we've done is for all these tomatoes down here, what we did to trellis them, because tomatoes tend to fall over. They're really clumsy plants, and when they're all on the ground, their fruit touches the ground. When the plant touches the ground, it tends to invite disease and stuff. and pests. So what we do to hold it up is a technique called the Florida weave or a basket weave method. And literally, this is the first rope of a set of ropes that we're going to be setting up over the course of the entire growing season. So after they're about a foot tall, what you do is you take the T-post and you tie something like twine. This is hay bale twine. And what you do is you start here and you wrap it on this side of tomatoes, and then you go around the other side, and then you go around, and then you weave, and then you do it again, and you take a second rope and you go the other way around, and you just go the other way around. So you can kind of see, it's kind of hard on some of the tomatoes. They're kind of confusing to make, but you have one rope on each side, and then every foot or so, probably when they get about maybe, oh, I don't know, this much taller, we're going to tie another set here, probably about here, and then do the same thing, and then do that as many times as they need. Tomato plants will get very tall, and then it's really strong support. I've done it before. It works pretty well. Hay bale twine is also really cheap, and it is extremely strong stuff. That's another tater. More onions all the way in the back, and that's just like I think that's like, we're not actually sure what that is. That might be a cantaloupe, a melon of some kind, which would be exciting. Hope we get more than one. So these are all tomatoes, these things. I don't think they're fruiting yet, but they are flowering, and they're doing quite nice. They're doing quite lovely. Quite lovely. I'm very pleased with how well these are all turning out. All these tomato plants, we're going to make this into hot sauces and salsas, and we're just going to sell them raw at the market, and what doesn't sell, we're going to turn into whatever I just mentioned. All kinds of plans and stuff. And here's a couple more cayenne plants that I ran out of room for peppers, so we got a couple extra starts just to be safe. And they're doing pretty well. They're doing pretty well back here, so nothing to complain about here. All right, the next thing, here's our compost aisle, our compost section over here. And I grow microgreens to sell at the market, and I compost stuff that a lot of seeds get composted, or a lot of the used trays and things like that get composted, and they have a lot of seeds in them. So sometimes they don't germinate in the tray, but sometimes they germinate. I dump them in the compost, and they start popping up everywhere. And this is a patch of wasabi mustard. Those are cantaloupes. That's just stuff. That is, I'm not sure what that is. I think that's a mustard. Over there there's like potatoes and kale and stuff. It's all the varieties of microgreens that I grow, except potatoes. Tomato, and these here are all green beans. These are something we're going to try to sell at the market. They tend to do pretty well. Over here, so we have, I can't remember what varieties we have. Got a pretty good variety. Definitely need to get it in there and pull some weeds though. But I have to do that after all this rain is done, because it won't stop. Rosemary, let's get these guys out of here. Get on out of here. Another mater. Don't need another mater. We have plenty. Pull some of these guys out of here. Mostly get them away from the plant. All right. Anyway, good enough for now. All right. These are Ivarsky peppers. More peppers. That is a weed. Ugh. This guy is the guy that got obliterated, and now he's making a strong comeback. I'm looking forward to see what he produces. That's a rosemary. Those are carrots. The carrots are doing extremely well. We had a bunch of beets, just harvested them. I think those, I'm not sure what those are. I think those might be radishes, but I'm not sure. And here's our garlic crop, which you can see, just like with the potatoes, when they're just about ready to go, they start to die back. The greens turn yellow-brown. They start to look dead, because they kind of are. And we will harvest these, I think, early July is when they'll be ready. They produce a bunch of scapes, which are a bunch of like seed pods that pop up. You can use them and cook with them. And then over here I got okra, which is doing pretty well. Need to pull some weeds. All this rain, man, you pull weeds one day, it rains 2 days later, you have a huge weed problem yet again. Never-ending battle of attrition. Just pull weeds constantly. All right, anyway, this guy's doing really well. Oh, he's got some flowers too. This is going to start making some okra. Look at him go. These guys are getting kind of big. Very good. Here. Big boys. And then over here, on this side, these are the decorative plants. I can't remember what these are. These have been here for as long as I can even remember. We do nothing to take care of them other than trim them occasionally, and then they just kind of do their thing. They look pretty though. All right, these are more cashmeres. Over here. We had a fire pit thing that we don't really use anymore. So Mom repurposed it into a flower bed. You can see they're doing pretty well. More taters. Yet more taters. Always taters. And more okra. I had more space by the porch. These are going to get really big, and so because they're right by the porch, I got to make sure that they're not going to poke holes in it when they get really big. That's a tater, then is a weed. Okra, more okra. And that basically, I think, essentially wraps up the garden so far. I am super stoked. It's going to get real busy with all the picking we're going to have to do, especially when the okra starts popping up. More basil. All right, that about does it. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.